All right, so I think we're live. All right. So we're waiting on Jay. He just texted me. Okay, so he's on another presentation. He'll be coming on shortly, guys. So appreciate y'all being here. Let's make sure we're on Rumble. I think we should be on Rumble, right? We on Rumble? Let's get ready to live stream on Rumble. All right, hold on just a second. We should be on Rumble, I think. All right, there we go. Hold on just a second. There we go. Looks good. Yeah. Did you all see the news about China? Just where? Let me show you something here, guys. This is if this doesn't scare you, I don't know what will. So let's go to my locals page. All right, so just as an FYI, join me on. Oh, there's Jay. All right, cool. All right, good. I see Jay. All right, so hold on just a second, Jay. I was just gonna do something real quick. Can you, Jay? Give me a thumbs up if you can hear me. All right, cool. All right, give me just a second, Jay. So here's my locals page. Of course, y'all can join me on locals, and we're gonna go to locals, joshscanlon.locals.com, and nothing scary here at all. The Chinese Communist Party of China government is telling people to stock up on food as temperatures fall and COVID spreads for the wintertime. When the communists are telling their own citizens to stock up on food, that's not good, my friends. That means there's worry in the air. So get your Augustin foods, vegetable stew. Get some meat too, though. All right. So Jay, you ready to join? And I can't hear you, man. All right, go ahead. Say it again. Still can't hear you. All right. All right, hey, everybody, can y'all hear me by chance? All right, so I'm gonna bring Jay on here. Jay,
I can hear you just fine.
Hey, right on. Hey, J.O., what's up, man? To talk to you and
in a while.
Sounds like I've been hanging out with Aaron Rodgers. That's funny. I got my annual J when the summer turns to fall every single year. I think it's psychosomatic. I think I tell myself it's time to get sick. I'm like, nah. Just feel like crap. I don't feel that. I mean, I just like that. But what's going on, Jay?
Trying to keep the lights on. Trying to keep the wheels on the ground. How are you doing, Josh?
It's been, what, 2 years, man, I think, since we've done a stream together.
Is that right? 2 years.
Dude, 2 flipping years. Crazy. So just for the folks in the audience, Jay and I did a bunch of streams about 2 years in the summer of 19. Yeah, because it wasn't last year. Damn, time flies by, man. And that's nuts. We did live streams on like every single state for the most part, and it just kind of fell off a cliff. That's okay. It just happens. But all right, so Jay, hell, man, let me just do the quick introduction. So Jay is the author of Maximize Your Medicare, which I put a link in the show notes to, and the 2022-23 edition will be coming out when, Jay? I know it's on pre-order. When's that, January?
It's on pre-order now. Right. It'll be out in January, very early parts of January. Basically, once I know what Medicare premiums are going to be, which are not yet announced, we'll let it rip from there, and then out it'll go to the printer. And then out it'll go to stores and to the Amazons of the world. So any day now.
All right.
We're right at the finish line.
And Jay, he's a big wig in this stuff. I mean, Robert Powell from I think Market Watch or Wall Street Journal, right, Jay? I mean, you've been interviewed by him and multiple other folks as well over the last few years. I mean, you're a big wig. You're beyond us, man. Us measly mortals here.
Bob's been real good to give you an idea. So the street.com, which is Jim Cramer's website. So he runs Retirement Daily. I'm on there 3 times a month. So every month, we spend a few minutes together on a few different topics, short, mainly, high level stuff.
Yeah.
We don't have lots of time to get, in too far in depth, but just to make people aware of headlines or certain little topics here or there. So many different topics in this day and age. So
it's insane. People gripe about Social Security. I'm like, man, you think Social Security is bad? jump into Medicare and ACA. It's just don't get sick. All right, so Jay, Jay's dad's a physician. Jay was an arbitrage. Basically, is just a short, and I'll let you kind of further. But Jay did a lot of strategic investment planning on arbitrage and stuff. He recognized that it's kind of what Medicare and health insurance is as a whole. And it just got those that lump of coal in Jay's head. He got him thinking like, that's interesting how the two kind of things, the arbitrage and hedging and stuff, kind of go hand in hand with health insurance, and it's actually pretty interesting. So not an ignoramus from the health insurance area, given his dad's a physician, and Jay had some background in that, and then on top of that, his trading strategies as well. But Jay, what I tell you, man, just where to begin. So give us the background. When did you get into doing healthcare stuff? Just give us the quick, because we got so many things we got to cover tonight.
Well, not particularly interesting, Josh, but I mean, yeah, I've been around the globe on derivative contracts, basically.
Yes.
So I'm thinking, so put call strategies, hedging, the things that you mentioned were second nature from school and then practical experience around the world.
Yeah.
And the reality is that insurance, the financial planning topics that we've talked about, whether that be health insurance, dental insurance, Medicare, these are just different options. In other words, you're paying a price. We are trying to get a set of benefits. That's it. The end. Right? I mean, and we're the buyers of this option. We're trying to pay as low as possible. We're trying to get the sharpest angle, meaning the biggest bang for the buck, the most value for your money. You can call it a different number of things. That's still ultimately the approach. So the reality is that someone with my background and all those kinds of things from other, from Wall Street and from global finance, it's directly relatable to everyday people, whether or not you're a farmer in the middle of America, whether or not you live in a metropolis, Atlanta. Well, I guess there are drunk on the Braves right today, but you understand my point, right? It's just a question of me, whether or not that I can get them to and relate to the language and describe things that don't look the same. You don't think they're the same, but they actually do. The cash moves in the similar way. Mm-hmm. So I always tell persons, look, just follow the cash flow. If the cash flow works like a duck and it quacks like a duck.
Yeah, absolutely. Right on.
And from that, we can talk to people coast to coast, basically. Now, that's without getting into every last detail. You're right. We're here at a good part of the time of the year. We've got this blizzard of events, even without COVID. So we've got we have the Medicare annual election period. It has started October 15th through December 7th. October 15th through. Does your chat? How does the chat work here, Josh? Is the chat to everyone, it's not going to the different channels? Is that right, or how's it working?
So what are you looking at right now?
I'm seeing StreamYard.com and then our link, and I see a private chat and comments, but I can't make it in there and they don't come public. Is that it? I'll leave the links here. I'm happy to do so as we're chatting, as we're talking, because there are a number of different places that people can either, after watching all of your 6 million videos, and watching them 5 times.
I wonder how I get. So you don't see? I see a live chat going up and down on my right hand side.
I don't see any of that. I just see you and I talking. So I don't see any of the questions. To give you an idea, I mean, I can also go onto YouTube. I'd be happy to do that and just go onto the stream itself and then open a different tab. Why don't I just keep babbling and then we'll have this stuff figured out. How's that?
Maybe do that, Jay.
Yeah, no problem. No sweat.
Okay.
So Medicare, October 15th through December 7th. I encourage everyone. The parts move. Part D, I'll give you the 5,000-foot view. Part D has declined. The number of sellers is down by 20%. In other words, If there were 100 plans before, there are 80 plans this year. This is not a surprise to Jay, not a surprise, because it is just commercially speaking, brutally complicated. So just I always try to say, I know people like to throw rocks at Jay because you think, well, I'm a shill for this or a shill for that. But if you just put yourself in the shoes of the seller,
right,
they've got to manage all these different medications with all the different sellers and all the manufacturers, and then be competitive compared to other guys just as smart with more resources and equivalent computing power with this amount of margin.
Yeah, exactly.
It's just not easy. And so what you've seen is that's why these other 20, if they could not gain a foothold as a new seller, they realize that.
Yep.
That's the only common sense conclusion Jay could draw, right? And from that, you would have a fewer sellers. The flip side is the case for So I'm now joining the
So you seeing the comments?
So right. So I'm actually looking at us on both StreamYard and YouTube.
Cool. Right on. Sweet.
Yep. So anyway, this different is going to be said about Medicare Advantage, which is 70 plans in large locations. Certain locations, for example, in Ohio, I want to call it like almost 80 plans in certain counties in Ohio. I don't think this goes away, because the fact of the matter is that the market share of Medicare Advantage is already 40%.
Whoa! That's now 40% over original Medicare. Ooh,
correct.
I know that. Okay, interesting.
CEOs, I'm very sure that in certain locations it's over 50.
Wow.
And the CEOs think of the carriers are going to say that the national average is going to be 50%, and that'll probably come sooner, much rather than later. And that makes sense. The number of sellers, the number of sellers has exploded. Number one, the number of sellers, not only have the big sellers moved into new locations, but entirely new sellers exist now. That did not exist 2 years ago.
What that did not exist 2 years ago?
Sure.
And these are legit sellers?
Yeah.
Like they're not just some, freaking Carl's Insurance or something like that.
No, there's going to be a mix always, and we don't know what the outcome is going to be. Right. So for example, there are going to be certain situations, but I can just say, after looking through the backgrounds of the persons, they're not faking it. You see what I mean? This is not, just Jay coming out of his log cabin, saying, here's my Medicare Advantage. No, this is not the case.
Wow. That's crazy, man. All right.
And that makes it both better and worse for buyers, for consumers, right? It's better because the sellers are on razor's edge. The margins from the selling point of view are very thin, meaning they've got the numbers right, and they're competing on every detail, bar none. If you're the buyer and you know what you're doing and what to look for, can you get the combination? In most locations, the answer is yes. Is it hard to distinguish? It is very hard to distinguish amongst the top. Once you've narrowed 70 down to 3 to 4, you're going to have to squint pretty hard in order to get the order exactly correct. Nevertheless, that's getting to the nth detail. The big picture is still that the improvement of Medicare Advantage will continue up to a point. We are not yet to that final endpoint, I don't think.
Does do the sellers get vetted, Jay?
Yes, they do. Every plan must be approved every year. Period.
Okay. Oh, every year. Okay. So not just one time, but okay, gotcha.
It does speak to the all the commercials you see.
Yeah.
Right. and the guideline I tell persons is that if the advertiser is the insurance company, it's almost impossible that there is an intentional untruth.
Okay.
Because the script itself is approved by the federal government. The script.
Okay.
The entire graphic that gets projected to you is approved by the CMS if it's by the carrier.
Okay.
That said, if it's Jay's insurance brokerage, that is not the case. So what you're seeing on some of these commercials to promise this or that, or say you can get this or that, it's not necessarily wrong, but it's not necessarily the information you require to make a decision.
Okay.
Does that make sense? And that's just the practical way that I try to explain to people, because there's so many of these commercials. It's like every
Like this guy, my man says, JJ from Good Times, Dynamite. Remember,
Oh, yeah.
he sounds like,
yeah.
So
I mean,
go ahead. Yeah.
No, I mean, tough stuff. But and then, Medigap, the difference, I'd say that, since we met last, I'd say that is the big difference, which is that incurred from Medicare Advantage. The reason that Medicare Advantage is getting such a huge market share is that for Mr. Perfect, never sick,
Yeah.
they get a $0 PPO.
Right.
They don't go to the doctor. Their health deductible is zero. Their prescription deductible is zero.
Jay, here's my daughter right there.
Hi.
Chloe, she got 1430 on her SATs. Take that. And she got this right here, something in her eyebrow.
I project big tuition bills for Josh there. Josh got to get back to work. So, basically what you have is Mr. Perfect. If we take Mr. Perfect, for example, Medigap for a male, hyper competitive, plan G 125, plan N below 100. When you add that plus Part D, it's still $1,500 a year. Mr. Perfect has never been sick, never gone to the doctor.
Yep.
He lives check to check.
Yeah.
This is not, so unfortunately, so it is true. The inherent differences between Medicare Advantage and Medigap persist. You can ask me also, this is why I wrote this book. I'm like, look, the choice here is you can keep $1,500, but the language is going to change every year. You've got to deal with network. Yeah. This is not necessarily negative, because remember, the counterpoint is the sellers are competing with each other. So they're including more doctors, they're including more networks, they're driving down the cost, they're driving down the price to the buyer. So, we shouldn't always just say that, well, moving language sounds like, okay, it's going to be like some game where they're with 3-card Monte. No, not necessarily, because remember, they've got another guy across the street who's trying to eliminate them as a competitor.
Right.
Right. So it's hype, and their margins, when I say margins, they're projecting low single digits a year. Their P&L
grocery store chain is what it is, basically. You know what I'm saying?
It is. And you've said exactly. When people ask me what I actually do for a living, I say I run a 7-Eleven over here. Because I'm helping persons pin down, do I want to have Big Red? Do I want to have Wrigley Spearmint?
Right.
But once they choose, my selling price is the same as Circle K. It can't be different in my regulatory reasons. My job is really to help them distinguish Big Red to Wrigley Spearmint. But ultimately, that's what ends up happening. But back to Medicare, so this difference between Medigap, Medicare Advantage has declined. And it's continuing to decline. And we don't know that doesn't mean that the inherent differences have gone away. It's still the difference. So it's tough.
Well, all right. So a couple things. What if you're not Mr. Perfect? You know, I mean, what
Yeah.
yeah.
So again, this becomes I agree with that. So in other words, which is that you live in a location where the networks are not well developed.
Exactly. Right.
You live in a location where they're not well developed and you have pre-existing conditions that you know that you have to go to the doctor 3 times a month. Well, and you live in a location where the access to doctors, hospitals is otherwise restricted. Well, in those cases, you have to pay this extra tax,
Yeah.
which
Exactly.
is higher Medigap premium. But and then so you can understand, okay, the idea that we're going to have one size fits all for every situation in every location in the country is just not practical.
Yeah.
It's not practical reality. And then your situation can change. And this is the question, depending on where you live, on what the alternatives are. I even have given persons whispered in their ear and say, hey, you want to know what? If you move to this other location, you get extra rights. It's that extreme. So that's it on Medicare.
Real quick, going back to Part D, though. All right, so Medicare Advantage is getting more competitive. Part D is getting less. Why? I don't get it.
Well, I think that first of all, the size of Part D is much smaller.
Ah, gotcha. Okay.
And the margins continue to be tough.
Okay.
And in addition to that, since what is really happening with this is what is I've shown in certain locations is you had a list of medications under Part D.
Yeah.
And let's say your medication total bill is $1,500. It can be that your same medication list under a Medicare Advantage plan can be $1,000. Which sounds it's counterintuitive, right? You would have thought that I bought a Part D plan, the overall cost would be lower than this all-in-one package.
Yeah.
But in fact, the all-in-one package, because the sellers, they added extra padding into the prescription portion of that Medicare Advantage plan, pushing down the out-of-pocket cost for prescriptions for beneficiaries. So now we've got even more complicated stuff from a day-to-day level.
So are we seeing a pretty significant increase in premiums on Part D?
No, the average is not actually different.
Okay. Okay.
But what we're seeing is that what we're seeing is have and have nots, which is that the ones with the big market share are getting bigger market share.
Okay.
We're seeing a person in the middle of the sellers saying, look, we're not being competitive here. So we see them backing away.
All right. Yeah. This economies of scale basically what's happening there.
100%. And I think that you would expect that actually is what I actually suggested would happen. In fact, I've met with carriers. I'm like, why are you involved in Part D at all? Why would you start a Part D? I mean, I was like, no, it doesn't make practical sense.
No, Part D, Jay, does that like every year the various prescriptions change within Part D? You know what I'm saying?
Oh, yeah.
Oh,
absolutely. So this is what I'm saying. You absolutely, there's no shortcut here, Josh. And as many people as will listen to this, thank you so much again for having me, that even if your prescription list stayed the same, that doesn't presume that the conclusion is not that the best plan in 2021 is going to be the best plan, the most efficient plan in 2022. That is completely the wrong idea.
Yeah, that's crazy.
If you're only taking generics that cost zero anyway, okay, well, maybe. But even a single medication, and lots of people are on these medications, eye drop, cream, inhaler, any one of these three, and you're talking about that one inhaler switching the order. And it's not only switching the order, but the total cost is many hundreds of dollars a year. Not like for $50 a year, Jay never suggests changing.
Right.
But these numbers are, 400, 500 each line item.
Ooh.
Yeah. And even if you change I went to my pharmacy, I went to my local pharmacy because I've known them for 30 years. Yeah, okay. What happens when I tell you, okay, you can continue to go to that pharmacy? It now costs you $1,000 a year instead of going to the national chain. We'll see how much you like your local.
Yeah, right. You're really loyal to them.
I liked him. I didn't like him that much.
Not for $1,000.
Not exactly.
So with Part D,
yeah,
I mean, there are drugs that you, even though you have Part D, you could still be on the hook for a significant amount of out-of-pocket expense.
No question. So, for those persons on, like I said, inhaler, where somehow you have to keep buying the entire plastic package. You don't get to put like some insert. You got to buy the entire contraption. And I'm joking about it. It's not a joking matter to the people who use this.
No, we got one here. I know exactly what you're talking about. It's crazy.
But eye drops, someone with red eye, glaucoma, these drops are very expensive.
Insulin. Some guy says insulin here. How about insulin? Is that
insulin has improved?
Okay.
And it's a good time that we're talking about it. Last year, 2 years ago, insulin has something called the senior savings model. Certain plans are involved, and the discount is down to 30, capping the copay at $35 a month, which is enormous, because not only is it $35 a month now, but it's also $35 a month even after you enter the coverage gap, the donut hole.
Okay.
Your copay stays at $35 a month.
No matter what. Okay, gotcha.
Right, which is thousands of dollars a year. This is thousands of dollars a year discount. Now, a couple of things. Number one, not every Part D plan participates. Mm-hmm. Not every insulin participates. And certain Medicare Advantage plans add extra different insulins on top of the standard set. So we've got persons, literally this one difference in something called this senior savings model is a $3,000, $4,000, $5,000 a year lower out-of-pocket cost on this alone. Yes. But what ends up happening is people don't know that this exists, and they kept it in their bottom drawer. They're afraid they don't know someone how to, adjust, et cetera, and they leave it alone. That's unfortunate, but this stuff exists, and it's protected by federal regulation. This is the other thing, is that, when I said I run a 7-Eleven, I don't get to modify the Big Red.
Right.
We don't have Big Red, Jay's version of Big Red over here. We got Big Red. That's it. Or Wrigley Spearmint. That's it. The end. And so a lot of the misgivings and a lot of the reason I spend so much time in public is because to give people the confidence that, hey, look, you and I are talking because we've spoken so many times together, but actually the words I'm using are pretty specific. Yeah. You see what I'm saying? I would not be comfortable about saying you won't hear me saying that plan is bad, or this plan is great, or that plan has sharpened its pencil, or this plan has faded. I know what they are. You won't hear me saying it here on YouTube or, any of your many, no chance of me saying that like that.
Well, and then well, A, why would you? And B, so like you said, the Big Red at CVS, the Big Red at Jay's 7-Eleven, it's the same damn pack of Big Red. You know what I'm saying?
Exactly. And, but people, if we have skeptical society, if you didn't know that, there's a news flash, right? And so, it's and some of that's earned, of course, but it's usually not the case on Medicare. So
are you, by and large, though, you pretty optimistic about Medicare Advantage, in terms of its offering is a better, or are you still, I mean, I don't know how to phrase this. I don't want to put you on the hot seat, but just go ahead.
I would say that I'm more middle than what you normally see on social media.
Okay.
That the idea that you're going to hear the answer for you in 5 minutes.
Yeah, right. And 100%.
It's like no way, right? My book has, what was it? 200 footnotes. Endnotes is 200 notes. 200 endnotes to my book.
Yeah.
The idea that I'm going to be able to encapsulate, what's best for you in some town I've never been to is, there's no way. But I think that what you have is that for persons who have financial reality that demands that they be very specific, that Medicare Advantage is more viable than what people say.
That's 100%, man. Okay.
And that said, if that is not you, and that could be many of you, right? I mean, that you could have a pre-existing condition, means that you have to go to the doctor all the time. You've got infusion, you've got this kind of therapy or that history or likelihood. That basically changes your demand for Medigap.
Yeah.
It tilts the balance. The idea, okay, well, the other day I was on a different location and the person said, well, if money were no object. I said, okay, let's stop right there. Just by the fact that you started the sentence with that invalidates the rest of your question.
Right.
Don't tell me it's not about the money. It's always about the money.
Absolutely.
It's all about the price. Right. And for some persons, right, for $1,500 a year of tax for the stability of Medigap, that can be worth it. It's even more worth it if I know that I'm not in good condition.
Oh, yeah, right on.
Right? If I'm Mr. Perfect and I'm living check to check and I have to support a spouse and 3, I need $1,500.
Yep.
Right? And that's a different decision. That's not Jay's decision to make.
Well, you've been saying that since I've known you. I mean, it's literally the same story. It's like, look, your situation is X, which leads you to go this route. But at the end of the day, either way, the knowledge will help you in gain that power.
Entirely. I'm 100% on the camp of, look, as long as you understand the risk of what you are doing, have at it. You're an adult.
Jay,
please.
I'm going to put the Amazon. The guy just asked the name of your book. It's called Maximize Your Medicare. And hold on, I'm going to get the link here. Hold on just a second. Your Medicare. And it's the new, I'll put it in here. I can find the book. Let me just type your name in, Jay. All right. I had a link earlier, and I guess
I'll do it. No problem. Don't worry about it. I've typed it so many times. This is not even funny. So I'm up there in your chat on YouTube.
Okay, cool. Yeah, put it in there.
Yep,
if you would.
I've replaced this. We've got the Substack, which I've replaced the Maximize Your Medicare newsletter. We've been so good about pointing people there, but that is now the Substack. It's called Jay's Corner because it's a lot more topics you asked, and I'm delivering here. Because I'm happy to talk about the Affordable Care Act here because it has notably changed since we.
Let me just bring up your Substack too here, Jay. Hold on, it's Jay's Corner Substack.com.
It's JW. It's J. Actually, I did it wrong. Hold on for a second.
All right.
HTTPS. It's J. I'll put it on the YouTube and then you can copy it from there.
Well, I'm not actually seeing the. Is it J? Go ahead and try real quick. Let me
JAEOH.substack.com.
Okay, gotcha. Yeah, okay, cool.
Keep putting in typos because I'm trying to talk and.
Yep, I'm doing the same thing.
Yep.
All right, cool. So here's Jay's Corner. All right, cool.
No problem, Josh. What I would say is that what is different, the most notable difference though, is in the 2 years since has it really been 2 years and crazy, is that the Affordable Care Act is much different. Much different.
Well, that's
correct.
All right, so hold on just a second, Jay. Let me share everybody with us. So this is Jay's. Let me share a screen real quick. Definitely, folks. It makes no sense not to subscribe to Jay's Substack. So it's JOJAEOH.substack.com.
That's correct.
And you got to pre-order the book.
There you
And then
go.
he's going to have all his blog posts. Look, he's got right here. Quick guide to individual health insurance. Next up, just all beginner's corner. I mean, just I tell you. So I frequented Jay's. Let me stop sharing that. How do we stop sharing that right there? Jay's old newsletter, which was fantastic. And just there's more in Jay's, and that's what this is essentially. There's more in Jay's newsletter
than Medicare Matters. No question. No question. Because the Affordable Care Act has changed, and not only that, but all of the different financial maneuvers now because of and it just point out tax and what I've called the silo effect, which is the interaction between tax and health insurance premium. Has basically changed the way that you have to consider your investment strategy, how you consider your retirement with withdrawal strategies, et cetera, et cetera. The whole thing has been, I knew it was already flipped on its head, but it's become even more so for when one of the spouses or somebody in your household is not yet Medicare eligible. It became even more dramatic over the past 12 months. So that has been quite shocking. Not shocking. It's just become more apparent, more examples around the country.
Any examples on what more dramatic means? That's
sure.
Yeah.
Sure. Yeah, I know. I was trying to lead you to the question, Josh. So anyway, 64-year-old in Fort Lauderdale, 64 married couple. The subsidy now is literally, it's worth $30,000 a year lower in health insurance premium.
Right.
A married couple, 64 years old. That exists. Now, the issue is if you have received money from qualified funds, you're recording taxable income.
Yep.
You've now the $30,000 of subsidy because the subsidy is dependent on your income.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
So now what you thought was, I'm going to call Jay. He seems to say he knows something about health insurance. I'm going to call somebody else because they seem to understand about withdrawal strategies. This person doesn't think with this person in mind.
Yep.
In order to think about this, Josh, think about how much better does your portfolio have to do in order to get back the $30,000 of higher health insurance?
100%. 100%. Absolutely.
Right.
Crazy.
It has changed your entire hurdle rate. It has changed the entirety of your portfolio approach, strategy, withdrawal strategy entirely. But if you did it right, now you're 60, now you're 67. You've stayed employed because you had a 64-year-old spouse, because you thought that you needed to insure the 64-year-old spouse.
Yep.
Right? This happens everywhere. Yep. 67-year-old person stays employed. Yeah, but let's say I said, okay, if you handled it right, the 64-year-old spouse can get health insurance for $100 a month. The 67-year-old says, oh, I quit tomorrow.
Exactly.
Right. In fact, I actually quit a year ago.
Right.
I just didn't know.
Right. Exactly.
Right. Meaning the entire decision-making process has been flipped on its head.
100%.
And the reason that changed is that in response to COVID, the American Rescue Plan dramatically increased the tax credit, which lowered health insurance premium. So you can know where you are. Georgia, you're there. Texas, Arizona, Florida, very, very expensive. The sticker prices. I mean, don't get me wrong. It's expensive in Ohio, right? But Texas There's no such thing as PPO in the individual market in Texas. There's no such thing as PPO of any sort in Texas on the individual market. And their premiums are, like I said, $1,400, $1,500 a person in Dallas. Yeah. Now all of a sudden they get the subs. If you in different locations, Arizona, for example, you get the subsidy, and now all of a sudden you're at $100 each. Just to give it away back because you didn't realize that your RMD or you've withdrawn from a qualified fund created a taxable event, and now all of a sudden you don't get $200 insurance, you get $1,500 insurance. Yep. You've given it straight back.
Yeah, what I'm saying, you've taken 30,000 out, and you've given 30,000 back.
That is happening. That is happening.
That's changing, right? The ARP is going away. So in 23, Jay?
So we'll see. So this year, it's good through this year, right? And part of the provisions here are whether or not those are permanent. And who knows what's going on in horse trading? You can ask me. Looks like even dental and vision don't look like they're going to pass from what I could see. I don't pay attention to Politico.com and thehill.com, even though those are fine websites, just because I'd be too exhausted at watching the horse.
And then you're spinning around like a freaking top, man. You're like, oh, you can't, so it gets to the committee. Like 100%,
no,
exactly.
So, that is what's happening. But what I'm also going to tell persons is that this has tilted everything. And I will say this now because on the Substack, I make a mention is that on next Monday, I'm going to be reviewing FEHB specifically.
Really? Interesting. All right.
The reason is the following, is that...
Clarify for folks who don't know FEHB. So clarify that if you would.
Sorry, that is the largest group plan in the United States. It is the Federal Employee Health Benefits Program. Federal Employee Health, FEHB. The number of options they have is like dizzying because they've got national plans and then you have state plans. And so as a result, selecting was complicated to begin. And now as a result of both Medicare and the American Rescue Plan have made it more complicated because the math of comparison has changed. You can see that is just a variation of the combinations of how complicated all of these crazy calendars exist today, Josh. I mean, you run your own little kingdom there where you're the king, but you can understand that a lot of your audience, you work for a large employer.
Yeah.
Well, you've got Medicare window here. You've got individual window here. We've got your employer window is here.
Yeah.
And now you've got complicated math. And so what basically has ended up happening is the actual effective time for you to decide can be like 10 days.
Exactly. 100%. You're in the Thanksgiving, Christmas, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
I mean, it could not be a worse time of the year too.
It's brutal. It's really brutal. And so I'm going to be talking about FEHB because, it can be that there's no question about the quality of what's inside, meaning especially like the large national portions, which is, the book, the coverage inside, all the doctors, hospital take it, right? Everybody wants to serve, the federal government, etc. That is no problem. But the question is location to location, the price. The price is not necessarily optimal in every location. My conclusions are wildly different for FEHB people to begin, even before the American Rescue Plan. So now we've added another complication here. Well, November 8th is the beginning of the open enrollment period for the FEHB. So on that day at 5 p.m., I'll talk about the principles, the ideas of how I would be actually just deep diving into a couple of locations. I obviously am not going to review all 50 states. I mean, literally, there's something like 3,000 different plans around the country. It is crazy. But
All right, good. So make sure everybody signs up for Jay's Substack. And again, we'll put links in the show notes. It's hard to get it here, but once they're done with this, we'll put links in there for sure. And
Sure.
I tell you, so Jay, my man Jeff says, check this out. Is American Rescue Plan responsible for my monthly self-insured medical premiums going down from $1,300 to zero monthly? This just happened this past July, 61 years of age. Now, obviously, we don't know the whole details here, but
yes, that is very likely the case. That's correct.
But that's not permanent, right?
It's last year and this year for sure.
Okay.
Part of the horse trading is to make it permanent. You don't see this.
You think, I mean, just so to make it permanent, I mean, we're talking, look, we can talk how it's funded. I get all that. I don't need to talk to politics. I'm just saying there could be a chance, in hell maybe, but a chance that says my man Jeff here could go to zero a month because he makes
X dollars.
Right, exactly.
Right.
See, this is, I tell you, man, just my own political thing. It's a big deal, man. It's a big flipping deal. As Biden has said, it's a big effing deal, man. We said that when they passed Obamacare.
Well, this is what I was saying, Josh. And like I said, this is why I use the specific example of the 64-year-old married couple in Fort Lauderdale.
Right.
To them, they don't care if it's permanent.
Right.
It's good for the year to get them the Medicare. Yeah. And now that example, 1,300, you multiply it by 2, multiply it by 12.
Yeah, exactly. That's real money.
You get 26 times 12, right, is now $30,000. I didn't make up $30,000. I was actually being accurate, right? I mean,
it's literally $2,500 a month that you're giving away if you don't. Now he did because the ARP had a lot more benefits because of COVID than was previous to that. But man, I mean, that's real. All right. So I guess the question that comes in is the insurance adequate, Jay? Because we all know you can have all the best health insurance in the world, but if you don't have care, it doesn't mean squat. So is the insurance?
Yeah, no question about that. Either way, the subsidy drops it by that price.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. Yep.
So you see what I'm saying? In other words, if you needed, belt, suspenders, and 5 sweatshirts as insurance, that sticker price drops by that $1,300.
Yeah,
in fact, it can be and let's just take, for example, Jeff, who's written in that his subsidy was actually $1,500. He's only using $1,300 of it. You see what I'm saying? In other words, it is very possibly the case. And I don't know a single fact about Jeff, but what I'm saying is that the way that works is you're just awarded a subsidy of X.
Yeah.
And X is subtracted from this full sticker price.
Absolutely. Yep.
So the fact is, if you were very ill and you needed $1,800 insurance, you still get $1,500 of credit. Your premium is $300. You still take it. You see what I'm saying? In other words, that's still way better than the $1,800. That's my point.
Does no, go ahead. You were getting me to say something else, Jay. Go ahead.
No, and the cool thing here is, and I will put this up here. Let me just get the link. Is there's a way actually even to get your estimate for free.
Oh yeah, let's find that out, man. Absolutely.
Hold on for a second, and I will get it for you.
And just while you're doing that, Jay, my friends, also does this stuff for a living, by the way, right?
Yeah,
So
this is a crazy thing. Is if you take a look, this is how people should. You can, on the link, I put it up on the YouTube, Josh, so you may want to copy it there.
Oh, yeah, cool.
Anyway, there's actually a site where you can test out whether you think you qualify. Because what ends up happening is people don't call me. They don't like me. Take a number. You know what I'm saying? In other words, they don't want to talk to a financial person for whatever reason. And that's fine. But then what ends up happening is
not like Jay. Come on. All right, let me. I'm not showing it here, so let me keep talking. I'm just going to look at my phone for the YouTube. I got to get the link, but keep going. So
what happens is people are stuck on the idea that the insurance in this state is $1,800. I don't even want to bother even going through the
Oh,
exercise.
absolutely. Right. Yeah.
So they just set it aside saying, okay, that can't be true. So so what happens, Health Sherpa, so I'm set up with Health Sherpa around the country. So what people can do is they put in their zip code, they put in their estimate of their household income, they get an estimate on how much they could save. In other words, that X that we just talked about. And it's a great tool, at least to get a first cut. It's not the final cut, but it's a very good first cut. And then people are going to put in and then the users are going to put in the wrong information, garbage in, garbage out, in which case they send me a quick email saying, hey, have you done this right, etc. And then we enter a conversation or we don't. But this first step is free.
You said you posted that on the YouTube channel?
I did under Much More Than Medicare. It said, what I'll do is, why don't I do the following as well to you, Josh? I will send it to you on text.
Okay, cool. Yeah, please. All right, right on. Good.
Yeah, that's
and you do ACA plans too, Jay?
Sure.
Okay.
I mean, this is because you can see how important it is that one person on ACA, one person on Medicare.
Yes.
That's a lot of people. 65 and a 64-year-old spouse. And we're not talking about male, older, female, none of that matters. One person Medicare, one person not. Now all of a sudden, the different optimal combinations is dizzying. And what I'm saying is that these subsidies are so big, and Medicare, the entry into Medicare is so much cheaper than the small employer plan.
So we talked about the 64 and 67. How about like 55 and 59 or something like that? You know what I'm saying?
Sure. So now you're talking about a financial planning matter.
Right. Exactly. 100%. Is that? But
no,
that's
like?
Yeah, go ahead.
Well, you can see what I'm saying is that there are going to be cutoff point. There's going to be, what's going to happen is the subsidy, the tax credit is basically there's no shortcut to saying, okay, I'm going to claim X dollars of income. Or let's just say, maybe it's that, hey, I'm going to contribute into my IRA to push down my taxable income and also double dip by getting lower health insurance premium. Yeah. That's entirely possible. Of course it is. Yeah. So there are going to be break points for different people without making sweeping generalizations, right? Okay. Right. What I'm saying is that I will tell you this. If
you just wonder what I'm doing, I'm not being rude. I'm just trying to get these links.
No,
posted. So just go ahead, keep going, Jen.
We're entirely, it's good. No problem. Yeah. Is that you're not being rude.
Okay.
Is people would say, okay, well, if I lower my income by $5,000, I'm not going to get much bigger health insurance subsidy. That's actually not the case. It's pretty shocking if you eyeballed it. It's not like you've dropped your income by $10,000. Yeah, well, you may have also dropped your health insurance premium by $1,000 a year. If you lowered if that's basically increasing your return on your portfolio by 10% on that 10,000, I mean, how are you going to beat that in financial markets? For sure, with certainty, right?
I cannot. Oh man, I wish people would get that. I cannot agree with that more. It's like, look, we're trying to maximize our returns. Well, one of the ways to maximize returns is lower our expenses. That's inherently, you know what I'm saying?
Exactly. So one of those inputs now, from what you just said, which is completely just common sense, right? I mean, we're not using derivative technology. We're just talking, cats and dogs, apples and oranges. Just the common sense of it. If I can drive down your cost in some way that you didn't know about, let's at least get the information to see whether or not that's available to you.
100%, man. And ignorance is not bliss in this stuff. Especially just real quick, guys, just because you don't know, and why would you? I mean, my goodness.
No, exactly. Oh, sure.
I don't know. And no one's going to, Jays are going to yell at you and say, hey, no one knows that. No one cares. But why not? I don't want to be a shill for Jay. I would just say, why not talk to someone who knows? It doesn't make any sense to me. I'm like, dude, Just talk to somebody. And that's crazy.
And especially because I don't, what people don't, what's crazy is that the following is that when you talk to a financial advisor, let's just say there's a package product or a mutual fund or whatever it would be, there is trim that changes from product to product.
Yeah.
On insurance, on health insurance, that's impossible.
Right. 100%.
Yeah. Right. Well, like we just said, right? If you're getting big red, you're getting big red. Right. That's it. You're not getting Trident. You're getting big red. That's it. The end. And so there's no flexibility for me to change the price, to tweak the term, the this or that. I mean, I'm closed if I did that. I'm closed. I'm like closed that day.
But so, if we give you big red for 85 cents because you did this other stuff in which to get that big red, as opposed to big red for $1 because you did do these other things, i.e., reduce your income by $1,000. It's the same big red.
Oh, that's true. Yeah,
but we correct. Did the big red because we took some, proactive measures on income stuff. You know what I'm saying?
Oh, yeah. And this is why I'm saying about the silo, which is that, what happens is people have kept them separate. But now the effect of the tax matters and the effect onto the premiums is so big.
Yeah.
And there have been big success stories and also, unfortunately, big negatives, which is somebody overlooked this.
Yeah.
And then they claimed what ends up happening is people don't understand sometimes that their distributions, let's just call it in their non-qualified funds, they had a mutual fund, they get their distribution, which sat in a black box. They don't understand that that's actually a taxable event, that their broker's been withholding it. And so it looked the same to them net, and then they just get told later by their CPA in April. Well, also in April, what they get told is, oh yeah, by the way, you've claimed this $15,000 of lower health insurance premium. You owe that back. And it's April. You don't get to go to the time capsule to unwind your investment strategy on December 30th. You're now in April. This happens.
All the time. All the time.
And now, so then I posit, okay, well, so your broker so you're going to have to tell me you couldn't find a replicating portfolio, which couldn't have mimicked that without this $15,000 cost that you just hurt yourself on. You've just subtracted that from your portfolio return. That's all you've done.
And going back, Denise, real quick, sure. She had pointed out last week, I did a video, Jay, that some of the Vanguard funds are having massive capital gain distributions. Vanguard just released their schedule, and I'm going to do a video on that tomorrow. So they're scheduled for their ex-dividend dates and stuff. And I haven't even looked at it yet, but I can only imagine it's going to be ugly because of the gains we've had. So just going back to what Jay was saying, if you're not paying attention to your non-taxable, your non-IRA accounts, that could come back and bite you in the big fat bud. That's for sure. And that's it all flows.
And that's what I'm saying is that this is why I was calling, and this is why our timing couldn't be better. Well, our timing could be any time during the year, but as far as the planning process and the timing of these types of distributions,
yes,
the ripple effect is going to be that some persons didn't know the way that this worked.
Yeah,
they've accepted the much lower health insurance premium.
Yep.
They didn't realize it was a tax credit.
Yeah, and
now they're going to have a big plus as a result of these distributions. And now their taxable income is going to be higher, which means they got to pay back this subsidy.
Yeah, exactly. Crazy. All right. So what are you up against it? You got a couple more minutes, or what's your?
I got a couple more minutes for you, Josh. No problem.
All right, sweet. So I want to care if we just go through some Q&A.
We're not going to talk about Michigan football, are we?
Yeah. Okay.
Thank goodness.
I do like talking.
Georgia's number one, right?
Georgia's number one, and they look tough. And
they look.
The Braves win the World Series.
Football in the South is different. You know, people in the North, besides Ohio State, man, it's just like not
like Ohio State. I mean, come on, man. It's just like that's like third world school. You know what I'm saying? Ugh. Who cares about those Buckeyes? They think all that in a bag of chips. It's actually pretty funny though, because everyone likes Georgia, but the Braves win the World Series is pretty cool. I'm not even a huge Braves fan, but it was cool to see the Braves win the World Series. So I'm pretty excited by that. There's no school in session on Friday, Jay, because of the parade here in Fulton County. So
that's cool.
All the neighboring counties are off. That's actually pretty cool, man. That's
I don't think anyone from Atlanta knows better than to go out. The streets are awful in downtown, even when everyone's it's like terrible. I can't imagine what it's going to be like on a parade. I don't know. Be prepared to walk.
Well, it doesn't matter what time. If you're driving through Atlanta, be prepared to walk anyway.
Oh my God, it's incredible! It's incredible. Well, the city just outgrew what anyone could possibly have guessed, so it wasn't built for.
It's kind of like Boston, man. I mean, Boston's not very big. It's just the areas around Boston. You know what I'm saying? It's kind of like same kind. Like Atlanta's like Phoenix. They got like 3 different downtowns. I don't know if you've ever been to Phoenix. But you know what I'm saying? Like it's just this immense monstrosity of asphalt, which sucks. Pretty good. All right. So Terry says, Jay, can you touch briefly on what is recommended for a veteran receiving care through VA and a spouse on TRICARE? Oof, a lot to jump on there. Anything you want to take a stab at that by chance?
Sure. So TRICARE for life is pretty much the gold standard. If you get TRICARE for life, because you're career military, generally speaking, I tell persons that you're not touching anything. You have to be enrolled in Part A and Part B, if I can remember off the top of my head correctly.
Yeah, I think that's right. Yeah.
Do I think it's the Holy Grail? I do. Do I think that do I think that VA, the rest of VA is very complicated. It has improved.
Yeah.
But TRICARE for life is as good as you're going to get at that price. It's not exactly Medicare. You do have to understand it's not precisely Medicare, and the logic behind it, if you can call it logic, the reasoning is that the monies come from different pots. The money that funds VA is not the money that funds the Medicare system. So as a result, at the margin, there can be these little differences. What does that mean? That means that the approved procedures by the CMS is not precisely the set of approved procedures at VA. So people like to say, well, it's like Medigap. Kinda.
Yeah.
That doesn't make it bad. Don't get me wrong. It doesn't mean you jettison your TRICARE for life.
Right.
That doesn't mean that at all. Generally speaking, I generally say you just stay there.
Okay.
Because you have the highest quality care, no question. I don't see it being under threat. I mean, if the government shuts off TRICARE for life for career military, I don't know what to say.
Kim says, what if you take specialty medication? Will ACA cover that at a reasonable price? Any thoughts on that?
Tough. Very difficult. I don't think that there's any question about it. So what ends up happening here is that under the ACA, one of the ways to distinguish across plans is whether the medication coverage is handled with the health benefits or separately. And you're going to have to be really careful about this. This is one of the difficult things about the Affordable Care Act, which is, in fact, the good thing is that lots of new carriers, lots of new plans, almost every location. The largest carrier in the country was not involved on the exchanges at all. They will be for the coming year.
Really?
The largest in the country. Correct. Really? We have new entrants into the Affordable Care Act. New entrants. The biggest carriers, new carriers, both. and it has going to lead to a huge explosion in number of options. But one of the things that the question correctly pointed out was that a specialty medication has to be, you got to be real careful about choosing amongst the menu, because some plans, the deductible amount doesn't include, is just a health deductible. It's not a prescription deductible embedded, and some doesn't. So you've got to then look carefully. Be very, very, it may be worth, depending on the cost of the medication, to choose the higher premium in order to access that benefit for that medication, as opposed to the medication that costs less than, a bottle of water, which of the many.
Hannah says, Massachusetts, are there any PPO plans in ACA? Are there PPO plans in any Affordable Care Act issue?
Yes. So,
I should say. Excuse
me. So, are we talking about this person with the question on the screen?
Yeah. Can you see that right there, Jay?
I can.
Okay.
So Massachusetts is a state with a state-specific set of rules. Okay. There are going to be plans, HMOs. No, not by definition.
Okay.
So are there going to be combinations of HSA and PPOs? Yes. Are they going to exist in Massachusetts? I can't say. I would have to look.
Okay.
So again, the people who are writing in are right to ask about the different states.
Right.
Remember that health insurance is offered on a state-by-state basis.
Exactly.
And when I say the Affordable Care Act, healthcare.gov is a federal site. But if a state chooses to run its own site, you must use that state's site.
Interesting. Okay.
So California, largest state in the country as far as population, has something called Covered California, Covered CA. You don't get the subsidy using healthcare.gov. You are redirected to Covered CA. And only then can you need to use the exchange in order to get the APTC. You cannot just call up the carrier directly and off exchange enroll and get the tax credit. That combination doesn't exist. You need to be careful.
What's APTC? APT?
That's the subsidy, advanced premium. So this lower premium, Josh, is the tax credit. Okay. APTC, Advanced Premium Tax Credit. It's basically pulling forward the annual tax credit to a monthly basis, basically. Right. And that is used to reduce your monthly paid health insurance premium.
So you couldn't just go to healthcare.gov and say, hey, I want to see what plans are in California versus plans in Idaho, because some states you have to go directly through the state of California. Because
that is correct.
Oh, interesting. That's good to know. I did not know that. That's good. Okay, good.
Yep. And I'm not sure what. Well, I'm sure they have their own reasons why, but I want to call it 13 states. Maybe a few more than 13 states have their own individual state portals.
Are you optimistic about ACA? What's your overall thing? I mean, we got more entrants, the biggest guys coming in. I mean, it seems like there's more. I don't know. It seems like there might be more competition, which is good, right? What's your take on that?
Oh, I don't think there's any doubt about that, Josh. And I don't think it's a political matter. Yeah. In other words, the people who are pro ACA, they're saying, see, this is evidence that, President 44 was right.
Right.
No, right. That isn't evidence of anything. Right. It's evidence that the sellers got more comfortable with the estimation of cost and therefore will offer prices in a competitive market.
Right, absolutely.
That's it. Right. So that all said, it is true that the sellers have become more comfortable with the financial risk and
Yeah.
therefore are more willing to take that risk, as evidenced by entering the marketplace. Yes,
Yeah.
that is true. Does that make it easier? No.
Well, because look at Medicare, man. I mean, geez.
No, but like, for example, the individual states and the Affordable Care Act, what you cannot get away from, and the reason that the idea of Medicare for all just is not, or even the public option,
Yeah.
or lowering the eligibility age, for me, you'd hoped, but became low probability, is because the opposition is well organized.
Yep.
No, the opposition is well organized, and they're smart,
Yeah.
and the supporters of these proposals might be equally smart with a different opinion, but they are poorly organized.
Yeah, 100%, man.
Right? I mean, for example, I could, and I've told this to other persons offline. It's the first time I'll say. I'm pretty sure it's the first time. I said it once in the paid version of Substack, but I would tell you this: is that if I could round up every CEO and every state treasurer in one room and said, "Look, we're going to jam down the premium. We're going to jam down Medicare eligibility from 65 to 60, and sure, you're paying $100 a month into the federal pot," everyone would agree and not even blink. Everyone. And now all of a sudden, all those persons would be clamoring for it, and they'll be bigger than the American Medical Association. That number of people would be.
Yeah.
Because every city, virtually every city in the country, is underfunded on their,
Yep.
by what, 90%? This stuff is like funded like, oh yeah, we've got like 15 cents on the dollar that we have in the bank right now.
Yep.
It's like crazy. So you can imagine all those people who have taken early retirement at 63 are off their books immediately.
Yep.
And it costs immediately done.
Yeah. Absolutely.
Now they're met. Well, everyone would agree.
Absolutely.
Every single
Guaranteed.
one.
Guaranteed.
You're the CFO
Right.
running pension funds,
Right.
running 401ks, and dealing with their group health insurance for a 50,000 person company. Oh yeah, all the people from 60 to 64.9, and every person can go to Medicare. I'm going to write the government a check.
Yep.
And see here, now those people can opt out. Tell me any CFO is going to say no.
No, they're all going to say, absolutely. We'd love to do that.
Tell me what the number is. We'll run the numbers. It'll take them 3 seconds, and then we'll be back with our yes.
100%. But they don't do that because they don't have they're not organized. Is that what you're saying? Right.
Exactly.
Yeah.
I mean, think about the numbers of people who would support that.
Yeah. Oh, that's crazy. You know what?
You'd wipe out the pension problems of the post-employment benefit problem, which is a sinkhole, and just ask the city of Chicago, city of Detroit, Texas firefighter. I mean, you name it. All those problems would have gone away because everyone who retired at 61 is taken care of. Done.
It's you familiar with Nassim Nicholas Taleb, the economist?
Yeah, of course. Right. Of course.
He calls it the tyranny of the minority. It's very interesting. Right. It's that's exactly what this is. We got the tyranny of the minority in terms of
sure,
crazy.
But it's we've thrown, and don't get me wrong, like you said, right? I'm not a doctor hater. My late father, a medical doctor, so I mean,
right.
But well organized, holy water on doctors. These are the people we trust the most in our society for this, that, and the other. Hospitals, we need as a society doctors in hospitals, and so and they're well organized. I mean, look at the dental matter. It's like
that well, just prescription drugs. I mean, look at prescription drugs, same thing. You know what I'm saying?
I mean, overwhelming public opinion to want to enact it, and yet cannot get it done.
Well, all right. Let's close on that. All right. So we got your Substack. So we got, and again, folks, we'll have we'll have the links maybe a little bit easier to find after this on the comment in the comment section, all that. All right, so maximize your Medicare. Just go look at, that's maximizeyourmedicare.com. Right?
That's right. Maximizeyourmedicare.com. There are a bunch of other resources on there too, Josh, which is like, when you're trying to enroll in Medicare, they got these like forms. You've got this or that form you got to send into Social Security Administration. I just linked them up there.
Okay.
So you don't have to go weeding on Google. I even have the form that, that, for example, if you wanted to suspend your FEHB, there's another form for that. Just extra resource, just to make things a little bit easier. I know what they are. I know how to get to them. Want to just share them with people. They can just go there.
And don't forget, folks, why would you know this? I mean, not Jay.
No, sure. No, oh yeah.
I mean, 100%. And so it definitely time for a Substack. I'm a huge fan of Substack and what's going on over there. And it's Jay's got the free, but for like $25 a year or something like that. I mean, it's or 50
right.
bucks.
And what they do, that stuff is cool for me because there are certain things, like I said, that I don't really talk about a carrier, about what could be a weakness or what I've noticed or what
we can't in this public forum because you could be, what I'm saying?
Correct. No, it's not because of Jay and Josh, because I know Josh will not mishandle it, but person. And now I'm Jay's to fault. I'm to blame for everything. So most of the ills, based on my inbox, that's what it seems like. But you understand my point. So behind the paywall, I at least have some filter.
No, I understand. That's the best thing about those areas, that you can be a little bit more looser. You know what I'm saying? But all right, so Jay, this is fantastic. And if people have they want to reach out to you, just maximizeyourmedicare.com and links with
there are contact forms there too. They can just and thank you to you, Josh. I can tell you that in different locations, that a select number of persons, not tons, but a few, have reached out and said, I saw you with Josh, or I heard Josh mention you. So big shout out to you and thank you so much for that.
Absolutely.
And from different parts of the country, so very much appreciated.
No, it's I mean, when it comes to this stuff, you got to have someone in your corner that A, knows what the hell they're doing, and B, is going to be there. Can't just be some fly-by-night guy. But all right, Jay, that's good stuff, man. I appreciate y'all being here. You still got your YouTube channel?
I do. It's called Much More Than Medicare.
Okay.
It's still there. I didn't mention it to you because you've got your dominant channel. We've got me as a little speck on your big radar screen of
but you're still doing videos every now and again.
Sure.
Right?
Oh, yeah. And I would tell you the following, you get lots of stuff about Medicare, and there's I quoted a study, and I'm going to just end it on this one thing about Medicare Advantage. Just somebody took Medicare Advantage article by Kaiser, which is the highest quality think tank, and said, this is evidence that Medicare Advantage costs more than Medigap. Yeah, well, the article actually reported about a single year. Okay, well, if you only lived during that 1 year,
right.
And that's evidence that Medigap is always superior. That's not evidence of anything. No, literally, that's what happens on YouTube. I'm not kidding you. So now this person faced that when they were, say, 75.
Right.
Yeah. If they got nickeled and dimed, if Mr. Perfect got nickeled and dimed at 75, yes, during that 1 year, they're going to be worse off than Medigap. Correct. Right. During the 9 previous years, they kept the 1,500 plus. And, oh, yeah, by the way, they got the utility of it.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
While they're able-bodied to do so.
Yeah.
But no, that didn't stop a YouTube, a channel 5 times my size.
Yeah, that's
5 times. That's what happens in our world, literally.
It's it's frustrating because there's also a big guy, a huge guy out there who talks about, it's the 10% rate of returns. You can take 7-8% a year without sweating it. I won't say his name, and no one should because I don't want to get sued. But I'm just like sitting there thinking, I can't,
Yeah.
I can't
Just
take
be
it.
careful. I just tell always people, just be careful that, even pointing out, because nothing's wrong with that Kaiser article for what it was. It also didn't try to make the 10, it just made the observation during that year. It was correct. It's not their job to be financial planning. It's not their job to looking at. So as a result, they were reporting accurately. It's someone else pulled it, twisted it.
What I'm saying, extrapolating that into a permanent
some
data,
other conclusion that doesn't make sense. Anyway, I appreciate you, Josh. Thank you so much for having me again.
Man, I don't care what they say. Thanks for being here, man. All right, we'll see you, buddy. See you guys. Thanks y'all for being here. See you, Jay. Good stuff, man. Good stuff. Oh, wait. You guys, we can still hang out. I guess we're still here. You guys want to hang out? I'm going to go to the bathroom real quick. We can still hang out if you guys want to. Hold on just a second. Am I still on here? I'm going to sniffle. All right, hold on just a second. I'm going to hit the potty, and I'll be right back. I'm still here. Oh, baby cakes. Still on my live stream, you okay? Okay, did you need to do something? Oh, oh my God, Dad. Is Tony sitting right there? Oh, what's up, lady? Oh, it is? Who's voice is Dad? All right, cool. That's fantastic, man. Huge fan of use the empty coffee can in the corner. All right, so I did see a question that so here's the my ACA subsidy went from 1243 to 949. I think that's gonna happen more and more. I did wash my hands, Jeremy. I peed on them, right? I think that's going to happen more and more. The subsidies are going to go down because they're getting rid of that cliff. I tell you, I just when I did the video earlier today about the election results. No one, the Republicans, if they don't get on I'll give a share a story. I remember this guy. His name was Rudy. Great guy, and he was one of my biggest clients I had when I was a broker. Big Republican, donated to the Republican Party like crazy. Big conservative guy. He had pre-existing conditions. He wanted to quit his crap hill job at 60. He was 58. He goes, he had pre-existing conditions. He goes, I'll vote for the Democrats if they can get something through. I'll vote for them. This is in 2004. He says, I'll vote for if they get something through. I'll vote for them because that's the thing that matters most. I'll never forget that. I said, man, Rudy, but I was young and dumb and full of what, and I was just like, you're going to vote for the Democrats over that? Is that important for him? Because he's like, I got pre-existing conditions. I don't want to still continue to work until I'm 65, and I can't afford the health care. So if the Democrats can get something through, I'll vote for them. And I remember that hit me like a ton of bricks. And then we fast forward to 2009 when they're debating Obamacare. And I've said this 1,000 times about Nancy Pelosi. I'll never forget. She goes, how awesome would it be if you didn't have to worry about health insurance? You just said, it's not, I don't need it. I don't need to work in some job for health insurance. I said, that's the argument right there. Because I remember this guy, Rudy, telling me that. And Rudy isn't a shrinking violet. He wasn't. He was a right-wing Republican, firearms up the yin yang. Shenandoah Valley conservative, and just I'm telling you. And I remember that to that day. I remember like his. So we have here now the thing with the Obamacare subsidies of ACA subsidies. If Republicans were smart, which we know they're not, because they're still big businesses. Most, the Republicans in D.C. are big business. The Democrats in D.C. are big business and big labor. The Republicans aren't big labor, so they're just geared towards the business, where the Democrats are geared towards both. It's the fascism of the Democratic Party: big business, big labor, big government. The Republicans just big business, big government. But anyway, if the Republicans were smart, they'd start offering, we want to keep subsidies, man. You make less than $100,000, we're gonna give you freaking subsidies. No one's gonna get mad at them. I mean, some people say, how are you gonna pay for that? Well, hell, man, how do we pay for anything? We've been running deficits since freaking Lyndon Johnson. It hasn't stopped us. We're not gonna stop. Why does this guy keep posting stuff on here? I keep putting him in timeout, this porn guy, and I'm sick of him. But I tell you, man, it's a winning strategy. The populism of the Republicans say, hey, we're going to offer this, in return, we need you to, I don't know, pay something. I don't know what it'd be. But the cat's out of the bag. And as much as I wish we had a voucher system of healthcare, it was kind of what we do, frankly. When Harry was talking about his subsidies of basically, $1,000 a month for his wife, it's kind of a voucher. They're saying you can shop insurance, no different than GI Bill, no different than Medicare Advantage. It's a voucher. We're saying we're going to give you a certain amount of subsidies. You can do whatever the hell you want with in the health insurance realm. And I think that's a winning strategy. It's not perfect free market. There is no such thing as a perfect free market. It's just, in the United States anymore, it's not there. So you say, all right, give us a voucher. In this case, Harry's voucher is $12,000 a year. I freaking love it, man. If just change your dynamic, forget who passed this stuff and forget how they did it. They're going to deem it passed without voting on Nancy, all this stuff stupid. But think of it as a voucher, saying if you keep your income below a certain threshold, you're going to get a voucher for $10,000, $15,000, $20,000 a year. It's freaking perfect. You go shop around your insurance like you want, just like Medicare Advantage, just like the GI Bill. It's just that simple. If you think it's a voucher, then you can do your own shopping, man. It's perfect. And you can find the businesses that are going to offer their services to you within the framework of a government dictate, which stinks, but we're not getting away from that. No government agency is going to relinquish control. It's just not going to happen. Anyway, so I think the Republicans would be stupid in 20, because we've got it lined up now. Trump did. I don't want Trump running again. Just FYI, I don't want him to run again. I'll vote for him if he does, if he's the nominee. I just hope he doesn't. But we got it lined up now. We got the Trumpism without the Trump in there. And so not only do we got Trumpism without Trump, but we got the framework now to take the Trumpism of populism and bring that to the masses as a conservative alternative to the insanity of the Democratic Party. So check this out. Josh, getting back to how in the heck did my monthly health premium go when I had, because last year, the American Rescue Plan, and this year, basically, there was no income. The thresholds were insane. Basically, they just gave away the store. I guarantee you're not going to have zero next year and the year after. I guarantee you that for sure. Yeah, well, that's 100%. It would be hard to forget you were forced to pay for health insurance or be fined. My wife used to do taxes for H&R Block, and the irony is she'd have a lot of working poor Black people in her office that got punished because they didn't have health insurance by Obamacare, the first quote Black president. I always find the irony in that Obama takes care of us, and the biggest group of people who did not have health insurance and got fined were the working poor, and as such, they got big penalties because they did not carry health insurance. And guess who got rid of that? Was a Trumpster. Yeah, right here. A healthcare voucher would be okay if linked with a client's age and total family size, but we cannot keep piling on debt. Yeah, but we are. It's we can't keep piling on debt, but literally is what we are. It's just that's. I hear you. They've been saying that for years, but we still are, and we're still. It's not stopping. So if it's not stopping, at some point you're just going to say, okay, let's make this. I think you tie it to income. Absolutely. I think you tie it to family size. It's literally what's happening right now, by the way. So the voucher is tied to income and family size, 100%. My voucher would be higher than yours. I'm not Theo specifically, but we'll say Richard K here. And Richard right here is a health insurance guy, by the way. New Jersey's still fine, so not having health care. Yeah, I mean, at the end of the day, look, man, that doesn't bother me, but now it doesn't. It's like, you don't get a free ride. So did you know, I post this again on my locals page here, and I don't think I have it up here anymore. Let me go to talk about free ride. Let me show you guys something here. Health insurance is a big issue. It's been a big issue since Clinton, and it's not going away until it gets resolved. And I mean, again, I don't want a single payer. Single payer is freaking evil because they're going to say, "Oh, you don't have the jabba jabba. You're not getting insurance," and I don't want that. So check this out. From Zero Hedge. Now I got to go here. One second. Yeah, I won't be able to talk that long because I can already tell my throat is getting scratchy. So this is the problem with not having some kind of penalty for people who are free riding. Something strange is happening at hospitals all over America. Emergency rooms are filled to overflowing all over America, and no one can seem to explain why, especially because COVID cases are so far down. And then we go here, and it's going to sound, but at this particular hospital in Michigan, we're being told that some of the main things that are being treated include abdominal pain, blood clots, and heart conditions. I'll let you make the determination what's causing that. You and I both know what it is, but it's more than that. So we got here, the mention of heart conditions immediately got my attention because I've seen this so much in the news recently. High school senior in Pennsylvania just dropped dead magically from a sudden cardiac incident. 12-year-old boy just suddenly died because of an issue with his coronary artery. Barcelona striker Sergio Aguero suddenly collapsed on the field during a match, diagnosed with a cardiac arrhythmia. Oh, interesting. Just 2 days before, a guy in Norway did the same thing. Cardiac arrest. What's causing that? But that's not what I want to talk about. I wanted to talk about this guy right here. Hold on a second. If I can find it. Hold on just a second right here. ERs are swapped with patients. And we're going to come down here. ERs are swapped with patients, even though many don't have COVID. So who are the people? Now, I'm going to make an assumption here. It's probably my own to my demise to make this assumption. Forget privacy. Alejos Parentos learned when he arrived, he came to the ER because his arm had been tingling and painful for over a week. He couldn't hold a cup of coffee. A nurse gave him a full exam in the brown recliner, which made him self-conscious about having his shirt lifted in front of strangers. I felt a little uncomfortable, but I have no choice. I'm in the hallway. There are no rooms. All right. So what's Alejos Parentos doing in the ER because he had a tingling in his left arm for over a week? Well, I mean, look, I went to the ER, I grant you, what I'm saying? But I have insurance. I don't know if this guy does or not. But we know that a lot of people are using the ER for their primary care. We know that for a fact. So if he had a tingle in his left arm for over a week and he couldn't hold a cup of coffee, he could have easily set up a call with his primary care physician before he went to the ER. We know what's happening here. The ERs are being flooded by Joe Biden's horde coming in from the South. And we know that for a fact. And you can say that's right. I frankly don't care. That's a fact. The ERs are being flooded by people with no insurance because they haven't had to pay for any insurance. And they're using the ER as a first offer medical care. To argue that would just be silly. Don't do that. We know this is a fact. I don't know if that guy specifically is, but I can almost guarantee you a lot of people down there in many parts of the country are using the ERs as a primary care place. And that's bad because that means you and I, the taxpayers, are being stuck without freaking proper care. And if you read these articles, you realize that there's a ton of people getting crap old care because they're being displaced by people who shouldn't be here. Anyway. Oh, hell no, that ain't happening. Hell no, Denise. That ain't happening. I'm telling you right now. When she's 18, she's a big girl. She can do whatever you want. But over my dead body, man, my kid's getting. I'll tell you that right now. Hell no. It ain't happening. I'm over my dead body. Is this guy getting? Hell no. My wife, she's a big girl. She do whatever she wants, but she's not getting either. Because it's fun to say, give me a hug. I'm not jabbing. Give me a hug, everybody. It's fun to say, give me a hug. you want to get it? Not you, Denise, but if you want to get it, I don't care. I'll be damned if I get it, though. I'll be damned if my daughter with ventricular tachycardia when she was a baby gets it. Screw all that, man. All right. Let's see. Oh yeah, 100%, man. Hospitals. I'm telling you, Mark. Mark says the only beginning of the hospitals being overrun, 100%, because they have been for friggin' years and years and years under Democrat and Republican leadership, both. Come on in, just do our cheap labor. We don't really care about you, the person. Just do our cheap labor. We get cheap money for profits for the Republicans, and the Democrats get cheap votes. And we don't really care what happens to you. But hey, just come on in. We'll let you on. It's all good. The water's warm. Crazy. And yeah, that's what's going on. And everybody knows it. And we're all benefiting from it. I'm telling you, we all know that. But at the end of the day, now we start having side effects from certain mandatory jabs, cardiac arrest, all kinds of myocarditis, all kinds of stuff. And this is just the stuff that's being reported. There's that 19-year-old kid or 18-year-old kid that was just talking about Pennsylvania. They did not report on his jabba status. Yeah, we can be kind of confident we know where that is. All right. Right here, Harry says, insurance for my wife will cost me $106 a month for a BCBS Blue Cross Gold plan with the subsidy. That's freaking fantastic, man. The CDC study using junk science. I had not, Jeremy. That's fantastic. Young Ripa, he's tearing these guys a freaking new butthole. My man, Eric July, he's just tearing these guys up. I love Young Ripa, man, because he's saying, oh, just another study that's not a true study. All right, my friends. Now my throat is starting to hurt a little bit. So, oh yeah, why? Well, look. But that's not true if you have pre-existing conditions, Condo Guy. So Condo Guy 710 is saying before ACA you could buy much better plans and low deductibles. You could not with pre-existing conditions. That was the issue. So the issue that we always say is why ruin the health insurance industry to cover the people with pre-existing conditions? Why not just provide a different path for them to get health insurance as opposed to ruining the whole thing? And so the ACA did, look, to say the ACA did not do some good is to be too partisan for me. The ACA did some good, 100%. It ruined what was an adequate insurance business for most people, though, and that is a fact. However, the people who needed the insurance for pre-existing conditions, they got coverage. They did. Now, whether or not they got quality care, well, it seems like that care is moving in the right direction as more and more providers come in market. But they certainly got coverage. But the problem is we all suffered for them. And that was the argument that I wish the Republicans would have made better. It's like, look, see, this is the thing. The Democrats propose, the Republicans deny, and then ultimately the Democrats get their way. But not as much as the Democrats want. But the Democrats get 85 and we get 15. But still, ultimately, it happens all the time. So what the Republicans should have done is said, look, man, let's provide some kind of option for uninsured or pre-existing conditions, but let's leave this alone. But they didn't do it because they can't. They just don't have the foresight, man. They don't. They're too busy saying the Democrats propose it bad. Tax cuts, tax cuts, tax cuts, tax cuts, tax cuts. And then they say deficits as the Republicans spend just as much as drunken sailors as the Democrats do. So the Republicans never propose anything other than freaking tax cuts. That's it. Tax cuts, tax cuts, tax cuts, more tax cuts. And the Democrats propose stuff that affects people. Rightly or wrongly, at least they're doing it. The Republicans never do. What the Republicans ever propose anything on freaking fixing the healthcare system when they had both houses and president? No, they did not. Freaking idiots, man. They could have easily said, we're going to take care of those pre-existing conditions with subsidies for them. Or I don't know how you do it. You don't want to make it so everyone all of a sudden has subsidies or make it so everyone has pre-existing conditions. But again, the voucher system. Say, look, you can't not deny people with the pre-existing conditions. Like, that's not insurance. This is not insurance, by the way. This is far, far removed from insurance. I'll tell me, I don't know what you do, but it's easy. You just say, okay, we're going to create a second public option, if you will, for people who have pre-existing conditions, but we're not going to ruin the private market as it was before. And then we'll incentivize private insurance to go in that market. I mean, there's all kinds of different things you could do, but they didn't do it. And so now it's like the worst case scenario. The people with pre-existing conditions are covered, which is good. But everyone else is screwed, which is true. So now we're relying on the voucher system from Big Daddy government. And it's just it's so disappointing because the Republicans just never propose anything because they're so afraid of the tax cut lobby, the corporatists, and the friggin' Cato Institutes and stuff. And how dare you think about raising revenue to pay for something like that? Well, the Republicans should be, look, we want to be revenue neutral. If we want to propose a solution, we want to be able to pay for it, unlike the Democrats. But we want to help people, and we're going to pay for it by a wealth tax. Oh, Josh, I can't believe you said a wealth tax. I was with you, Josh, until you said a wealth tax. I'm telling you, man, it's a new day for the Republican Party, and I hope they take the bull by the reins and freaking run with it, man. Yeah, but you're not punishing. That's the thing, man. You don't want others to be punished for your health conditions. But look, are we punishing people for your health conditions? This is the thing. We're still a commonwealth. A society still takes care of people, and this is where I think the libertarians are forgetful. Like Fulton County, they just passed a sales tax. Well, I don't like it. I voted against it, but the county people said we want that for our schools. Okay, that's what they get what they want. I don't like it. I'll move out the minute I can. But they said we want supposedly better schools. They're not going to get it, but they think that's the way we are. That's okay. The people say we want to help each other out. We're a community of individuals that have an obligation to each other in some regard. So it's a commonwealth. I know it's a federalist. I get it. Republic. I get all that. But what I'm saying is at the end of the day, we're all in this, man. So to just say, oh, Barry Cantrell, oh, sorry, sucks to be you. That's what the Democrats are doing with us on jab. And it's freaking, you can't do that. At some point, you got to say, yeah, man. And I'm sorry. The vast majority of us don't pay that much in taxes. I'm sorry. They just don't. You pay your FICA. You don't pay hardly anything in the federal income tax. You just don't, man. Because the vast majority of us don't make $100,000 a year. So the idea that the vast majority of Americans are paying for Barry's health because he's a pre-existing conditions, it's silly. Where are they paying it from? Where? They're paying 1.45 to Medicare. Wow. And they're paying freaking 6.2 to Social Security, which they get. Wow. And they pay, I don't know, freaking effective tax rate of 5 to 10% on their federal taxes. I'm sorry. That's not that big of a deal. My patience on that argument is like, I don't want to see my taxes raised. You're like, dude, you don't pay crap for taxes as it is. You just don't. I don't want to pay taxes either, but my goodness, man, at some point, we got to join the club here and say, okay, when I'm talking about the Republican Party and be able to have a governing majority that we can actually do some stuff to A, stop the left, but B, to A, stop the rest socialism, and B, to expand some kind of freedom, which has freedom of mobility. You're not tied to your crappy old job. You can do what you want to do. And yes, we're all going to be in this together to help each other. I think it's the way to go. Well, and this is the problem, though. The Republicans had nothing to do with this. The reason the rates went up is because they made me have mammograms. I hate to say it, I'm not a chick. I'm a dude, and I don't care what the freaking idiots say. I'm a guy, right? So I don't identify as anything else. It doesn't matter if I identified as anything else. I'm a dude. You know what I'm saying? It's that simple. And they made me get covered for freaking abortion services. Well, because I'm a man, I can't have a baby. Thus, I can't have abortion. Doesn't make any sense, but that's what they did. They threw it all. My dad used to write about this all the time, that the problem with a single payer is basically everything is covered, and there's a lot of things that are rationed. And that's what Obamacare, the initial phase of Obamacare did. So everyone has to have the same stuff, this is the same thing with single payer, which is why it's horrendous, because you're like, I want to have a cafe style. I want that. I don't want that. I don't need abortion services because I don't believe in abortion. I'm not getting pregnant, and I don't need a mammogram because I'm a dude. You need that stuff. You should pay more. I need other things for what men need. I should pay more for those things. Yeah. Anyway. All right. Happy to have the new red, white, and blue badge of Medicare. Have a supplement GH, which is found here in New York. Also, yeah. Well, that's the thing is, I don't know. Yeah, right here. So Kim had a Cobra, $1,100 a month. Just had a colonoscopy, and I don't know what EGD is, but had to pay. Well, he did pay. He paid $1,100 a month to Cobra. But, you know, I mean, I don't know. You're too liberal. The idea that I'm liberal is kind of funny. But I mean, I like to win and I like to govern, and we win by having people who can govern with policies that appeal to a good portion of the populace. And just tax cuts all the time don't appeal. That just doesn't appeal. And we've known this for a long time. All right, so I'm gonna get out of here because my throat is hurting. But well, they weren't shut out. They didn't. But you're missing the point. The point, man, is that the Republicans had, and from 2000 to 2006, everything the Republicans had from 2016 to 2018, everything. The Republicans did nothing on some of the most fundamental issues there were. Nothing. They had everything. They did nothing. The Republicans passed, McCain-Feingold, which is freaking stupid. No one wanted that crap. But the Republicans did nothing. And the idea that they were shut out, well, they didn't. They just opposed. And I'm all about that. I'm opposing socialism. I still support that they oppose that. But at the end of the day, you still got to hold the Republicans accountable to say they had the presidency in both houses from 2000 to 2006. They did nothing. They had everything from 2016, 17, 18. They did nothing. Not a proposal, nothing. They didn't. Not only did they not even propose anything, there wasn't a debate, wasn't a committee, wasn't any kind of even proposed legislation, nothing. It's just, I mean, I'm sorry. Actually, that's not true. They got prescription drugs, Part D. That was it. I think that's part of the Pension Protection Act, if memory serves. I might be wrong there. But I mean, they got, yeah, they got left out. Well, they participate. I don't want them participating for sure. But at the end of the day, let's not blame all the Democrats just because we're so in this false dichotomy. Red is good and blue, and blue is bad, because it's not, man. And don't forget, one of the things that happens a lot, my friends, is that why the Democrats are so good in the left. They go into groups and slowly but surely take them over. So they go into something that's nominally conservative, and next thing you know, slowly and slowly starting to move over. So they agree. They throw in their 2 cents. Slowly but surely, they take over, and then those groups are left wing. And the Republicans, I'm just guilty. Everybody, we say, no business here. We don't play the long game. We play the short game, and that's can't play the short game. You got to play the long game. All right, I am out of here this time for sure. Thanks, guys. God bless. We'll see you.